Okay, so what we're doing today is we're going to look at these measurement conversions. We talked a lot about the measurements and stuff over the last couple of classes and converting. Like if we have 36 inches, and I want to convert that into feet, how do we do it? Let's just divide it by 12, right? Gives us 3 feet. What if we had 5 feet? I want to convert into inches. Times 12, okay. Gives us 60 inches. The way to look at it, I mean, we did do that whole conversion factor thing, which we're going to look at that some more because there are going to be some times where we need it. But the way to look at it is look at the units. We go from inches to feet. The units are getting larger, which means the number has to get smaller. So that told us dividing by 12 was the right thing to do. Going from 36 to 3 looks right. From feet to inches, the units were getting smaller, so the number has to get larger. So going from 5 to 60 seems appropriate there. So multiplying seems to be the way to go. The next example, however, is going to look similar, but it's not. What's different there? It's square feet to square inches. Well, what's different about that? It's more than just a little tube. A square foot is defined to be 1 foot by 1 foot. It's a square that's a foot on each side. Bless you. A foot, though, is 12 inches. So this is 12 inches by 12 inches, which means it's 12 times 12, or 144 square inches, or inches squared. So 1 square foot doesn't equal 12, it equals 144 square inches. So when I go to make this conversion from square feet to square inches, I'm not going to use 12 as my conversion factor, I'm going to use 144. Do I multiply or divide? Multiply. I'm going from square feet to square inches. The unit's getting smaller, the number has to get larger. Oh, what is that, 720? Is that like right? Okay. Or I might have 1,728 square inches going into square feet. What do I do? What's our conversion factor? Yeah, still 144. The unit's getting larger, so the number gets smaller, so we divide, and we get 12 square feet. So, just to give this one a try, find to go from square yards to square feet. What do I do? Well, how many feet are in a yard? 3, good. So a square yard would be 1 yard is 3 feet, right? 1 yard, 3 feet. 1 yard, 3 feet. So a square yard, which is 1 yard by 1 yard, is 3 feet by 3 feet, or 9 feet squared. You're confused. You okay there, Brandon?
Yeah, I guess.
What do you need?
I'm not sure.
You're stuck with the feet and the inches up here. Now we switch over to yards and feet. A square yard, 1 yard by 1 yard. Right? No, it's 3 by 3, so 3 times 3 would be 9 square feet.
Okay, I got it.
Now we got to come over here. 9 is going to be our conversion factor. Yards to feet, the unit's getting smaller, so the number gets bigger. So 3 times 9 is 27 square feet. So if I have 108 square feet going into square yards, what do I do? 108 divided by 9. Very good. The units are getting larger, the number has to get smaller, so that's 12 yards. a unit of area that does not come from one of our unit of lengths is the acre. Anybody know how big an acre is? Well,
Isn't it like
43,560 square feet. Well, the way I always remember it is like this. Yeah, open land is not huge. Like most city lots are like 3/4 of an acre. Yeah, if you put a house in the middle of an acre, you don't have a whole lot of land around. You might have 40, 50 feet all around each side, about it. The way I remember it is a mile, a square mile, is set up, and this is just land surveying, how land is sectioned off. It is divided up like this. Along each side is 4 40s, so there's 16 40s in a square mile. Now, normally what they do is they'll hook these two together and these two together to make them 80s. Otherwise, you can't get into the middle ones if somebody else owns it. They call it landlocked, and they don't like to do that. But it is 4 by 4 or 16 40s. So 16 times 40 means that's 640 acres in 1 square mile. If you needed to figure this out, you can do 1 square mile is how many square feet? 5,280 feet in a mile. You square that, you're going to get, 27 million? 27,878,400. That's how many square feet are in a mile.
We was living on a farm. My mom's ex-husband owned, they had a crap ton of land. He was on the Valley Road by Trigo, but up north by Trigo, he owns land up there, and he had like 800 acres.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he had all his cows running up to that crap. Remember we used to go up there? Holy shit. Hours and hours and hours driving, fixing fence and stuff.
That's a lot of fence to maintain.
Yeah. So it was like a 3-day or 4-day process.
That's like the one thing that I wish I've been looking for a few years, but open land is so expensive.
We're like around here?
Yeah.
So you afford.
So you 40?
Yeah,
Oh, you actually own your own 40? Really? Cool. You inherited or you buy it yourself? That's cool. Why don't you want it?
That log.
So anyway, that's an acre. Yeah, 40, by the way, is just a 1/4 mile by a 1/4 mile. Is the easiest way to remember a 40. Let's talk about volume then. What if this were 2 cubic feet that I want to convert into cubic inches? Not by 3. A cubic foot is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. So 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. Otherwise known as 1,728 cubic inches. So now here, the units are getting smaller, so the number has to get bigger, so we're going to multiply by 1728. So this is 2,456 cubic inches. Does that make sense? This is a very, very common mistake that I'll see made. I'll see it made on the quiz when you guys come back from break. We will review this a little bit when you get back, but I'll give you a quiz where there's feet to inches, square feet to square inches, and cubic feet to cubic inches. And a lot of people mess it up. They just use the 12 no matter what. You got to remember to adjust it, whether it's squared or cubed. Here's a calculation I do a lot. Let's see here. Something like this. Cubic feet and cubic yards. Think about it. A cubic yard, of course, is 1 yard by 1 yard by 1 yard. Of course, a yard is how many feet? 3. So this is 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27 cubic feet. So 1 cubic yard is 27 cubic feet. So here I'm going to use 27. I'm going to multiply or divide. Yeah, I'm going from feet to yards. The units are getting bigger, so the number gets smaller. So I'm going to divide. So that gives me what? 12 cubic yards? Why is that a big calculation for people? Well, for me especially. Anybody know? When you purchase concrete, here at Price, it's $110 a yard or whatever. They're talking about cubic yards. So when you measure stuff up, you're going to measure it in feet. You're going to calculate the cubic feet. You have to do this conversion in order of concrete. How about our metric system? You don't like it? Else if I do it correct with you. The metric system is now your friend. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. You know, when I was in middle school, I was told that within 10 years we're going to be switched over to the metric system. Well, I've been out of middle school a little bit more than 10 years now. I'm sure you guys are probably told something similar at some point. We will switch at some point. Financially, it kills us to not be on the metric system. And I think I mentioned before, a lot of major corporations have just decided they're going to switch over no matter what. It's a huge expense. There's a lot of things that keep us from switching over. The main reason is the metric system started being taught in our schools here in the late 60s and early 70s. But you look at who's in power in most major corporations, who are the CEOs. I mean, mid-50s is very young to be a CEO. Most of those CEOs are in their 60s and 70s. They went through school before the metric system was taught, so they're not familiar with it. So they fight it a little bit. Another reason, of course, another obstacle is driving. If I go down on the highway down here and I pull off the speed limit 55 mph sign and I put up a speed limit 88 kph,
Oh, they would change
it would cause some issues. Yeah.
Oh,
Change that.
Because 55 miles per hour is 88 kilometers per hour.
oh yeah, let's not do the metric system.
It's not that hard. All you have to do is like down his phenomenal.
Yeah, I get it.
I love my mom's Corvette because you can just slide this on the dash, you slide this button up and it switches everything to metric.
It's digital.
Back down and, yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a Mercury Cougar that was digital dash. You just pushed a button and it changed it from metric
Yeah,
to.
pretty cool.
In the late 80s, maybe even in the early 90s, they pushed it really hard in cars. In fact, you know, you look at your speedometer, it has kilometers on your speedometer.
Yeah.
But the miles per hour are large and the kilometers are really small. In the late 80s for a while, they actually had the kilometers were the larger numbers and the miles per hour were smaller for a while. They were really pushing
Well,
the
the
metric
default's the
system.
same, even if they switch like 53 to whatever that is, 65 miles an hour, that isn't fill out, whatever.
Yeah, it would end up being
Yeah,
like
it'd be the
basically
same
like
thing.
99 or 100.
So
miles
if you know
per
the
hour,
speed limit
kilometers
here,
per hour.
you would know what to be at,
Yeah.
even in miles per hour.
Yeah. So most of the speedometers have the other units on it. They're just written in small. There are going to be some things that never change.
Maybe you snow tools from Canada.
Goes too fast
No, it had, it wasn't miles per hour, it was in
in kilometers.
All over against
Yeah, they said for a while there they were really pushing the kilometers and everything.
That's stupid.
You'll never turn on the TV on a Sunday afternoon in the fall and hear an announcer say that it's first down and 9.1 meters to go. I mean, there are certain things that'll never convert that we'll keep the standard units for sports and stuff like that. Construction will switch over eventually. Yeah. Fourth and centimeters.
Yeah, instead of getting
I'd have to go on a rampage. In the metric system, we talked about how each position on the chart was multiplying or dividing by 10. So to do a conversion, all you have to do is move the decimal point. So if I had 3,200 centimeters, and I'm converting into meters. All I do is I look at the chart, centimeters to meters is 2 spots to the left. Take my decimal point, I move it 2 spots to the left. That's 32 meters. But if it is 3,200, not centimeters, but centimeters squared to meters squared, now every spot on the chart is not 10 anymore. It's going to be, what's 10 squared? 10 times 10 is 100. Every spot on the chart is going to be multiplying or dividing by 100. When you multiply or divide by 100, it moves the decimal point 2 spots. So now every spot on the chart moves the decimal point 2 spots. So it's still 2 spots on the chart, but the decimal point is going to go 4 spots. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 0.32 square meters or meters squared. So let's go to the next step. It says it's 3,200 centimeters cubed. We're going to meters cubed. On the chart, it's still 2 spots to the left, but since it's cubed, it would be 3 spots per spot on the chart. Because 10 to the third power is 1,000, which would be moving 3 decimal places per spot. So instead of moving 2 spots, we're going to move 6. 2 times 3 would be 6. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to add some zeros. 5, 6. So that becomes 0.0032. So let's try some. If I give you 8.2 centimeters squared, now I convert it to millimeters squared. From centimeters to millimeters is how many spots on the chart? 1 spot to the right. Are we going to move 1 spot?
82,
No.
Square.
It's squared, so we've got to move 2 spots. We've got to double it. So 820. Good. What's that? Is it cold in here? Let's say we have 0.35 centimeters cubed going into millimeters cubed. How many spots do we have to move the decimal point?
Yeah.
It's 1 spot on the chart, so the decimal point has to go 3 because it's cubed. 1, 2, 3, 350.
Okay, so if it was 2 spots over, then it would be 6.
It'd be 6. You multiply by that hour. Yeah. So really, all you got to remember is you look at the power. If it's cubed, you multiply the spots by 3. If it's squared, you multiply the number of spots by 2. That's all it is. Yep. In that packet I gave you guys, on page 237, page 25 through 42 is converting units of area and volume for the standard units for inches, feet, and yards and stuff. On page 265 is converting the metric. 23 through 40.
So we got rid of the standard system, would there still be fractions?